Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I have to wait 10 seconds. Sometimes it shuts off.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Alright, accountability. So, I mean, we've already talked about a lot of it already tonight in the last hour. And we talked about a lot of this stuff last week also, just or 2 weeks ago when I was here, just an open discussion. But I'll kind of just go more in depth on things that we haven't really talked about yet. Okay, so first of all, just keeping yourself accountable. Like a way to do that for sure is to stay organized. And the first thing on here is sometimes you won't even mean to not be accountable because there's just so much on your plate, so much information for you to know. And it's easy to forget. There's just so much, and so it's very easy to forget. So staying organized is definitely like a key thing to keeping yourself accountable. This is the next thing. There's a lot of stuff for you to know, and so meetings. Make sure you're taking notes. Make sure, yeah. So like in your in the admin meeting, when things come up, like oh, I need to talk to my RAs about that because they need to know this because you are accountable for them knowing things. So at that meeting, make sure you're taking notes and highlighting things that you need to let them know. And then in the RD meetings that you guys will have, make sure you're taking notes during that too of things that you need to talk to your RAs about. And different things work for different people. I mean, some people, if you like to have like a planner, then cool. I mean, I don't use one. I use my phone and just use notes, and I have different things. I'll have like our RD meeting or things to talk about in the RD, or like me, Erica, and Anna. I'll have like a list of things I want to talk about there, and I'll have a list of things I want to talk about in the agenda. And so just like that works for me. So it's kind of whatever works for you. And so yeah, accountable for knowing things, not just getting things done. There's some information that you'll hear that you'll think you maybe will never need to know, but you are expected to know that to some degree. It's not just getting certain things done, it's just being knowledgeable about what's going on throughout TROP, because there's a lot going on in different departments, and yes, some things that you won't know. I mean, you can't know everything, but the more you know, the better. Just the more knowledgeable you are, the better you'll be, and the more your team will look to you. Talked about this already. You're on your own time, so it's harder to be accountable because it's your responsibility to be accountable. There's because you're in charge now. Yes, Anna will check up on things that you have to do, but there are things that she shouldn't need to make sure that you're doing, such as having the agenda ready or talking to RAs about certain like instances that they had, certain write-up situations, things like that. So yeah, a lot of it is on you, and you need to be able to take that responsibility. Accountable for, so yeah, like I already said, in meetings and stuff, make sure that you're taking down things to talk to your RAs about. So if you're not accountable, there's no way to expect your staff to be accountable at all. Like that's the biggest thing, the whole leading by example thing. We've already talked about. So yeah, if you don't know anything, how do you expect your staff to know it? It just goes down to the residents. And then if you don't know something, how can you tell your RAs to do something that they maybe in turn need to do something with the residents, such as suite man agreements or roommate conflicts or anything like that? It's just a big domino effect. So you're one of the first ones you're one of the first ones. Okay, so just your title as a director holds a lot of weight, and you need to be accountable for that weight that it holds. I talked to a parent on the phone today, and they hear like you're a director, and they take every word you say so seriously, and hold it like this is like the voice of TROP in a way. Like they don't know how old you are, but they are thinking you're someone like up top. And so just the way you talk to parents, like it's not like you're having a conversation like with your friend. Like you guys have already worked the desk, and yes, you need to speak professionally on the phone, but now that you're a director, it's even more professional. You need to really be on top of your stuff and give TROP like that good image. Also kind of going into hearings, you're accountable in there for the way you present certain things to the people that are in the write-up. That's kind of vague, but there's certain things you can say about TROP, certain things you like can't say, and you just need to basically be careful because again, they're viewing you, and big light. And the next thing, you're even more accountable now for things you do outside of Trump. So, yes, you still can't go out. Obviously, you can't go out as an RA, and relationships with residents and the language you use in front of RAs. And like I said, how you speak on the phone. But now that you're a director, it's just everything's escalated a little bit. So you just need to be a lot more careful with things that you do. If you maybe having a relationship with a resident, that's obviously it's always a kind of a gray area and weird situation. But now that you're a director, it's super touchy. It's super
Frowned upon.
yeah, and everything's professional. It's more professional. I can't say that enough. So then the next thing for keeping your staff accountable, lead by example. Already talked about that, obviously. Communicate clearly what they are accountable for. So communication is a huge thing to keep your staff accountable, because if they don't know what they're supposed to do, how do you expect them to do it? And they need to know clearly what they need to do. So in your meetings, you need to make sure that you hit on all the things, and they know you need to be checking up on them. Yes, it's not like holding their hand, but yeah, you need to make sure you're holding them accountable and that they know. If there's a meeting or there's something and you never told them to do it, or it's Anna comes to you and says, oh, have your RAs done all their sweepment agreements, or have they gone door to door to ask about the internet? And it's oh, I didn't even tell them to do that. That you're accountable for keeping them accountable, to some extreme. And then you have to back up what you say. So if you're telling them, oh, you're accountable for your staff tasks, has to be done by this day, and then nothing's, granted, Emery's kind of in charge of the staff task, but that's just an example for if you're telling them it needs to be done by a certain day and it's not done by then, something needs to be done. You need to have an educational talk with them. You need to do something, because if they think they can just get by all the time without doing anything, then that's what they're going to do. Efficient family meetings is a huge thing. There's been times, in our family meetings at least, where it's you don't even know there's lots to talk about, and then you have a family meeting and it turns out to be super important. A lot of things come up, and so just make sure that's all organized and that you are coming to those meetings with information and knowing kind of what you're going to be talking about, and yeah, again, just kind of informing them on everything that's going on. And then being reliable and supportive, that's just kind of, you need to be there for them, because the more you're there for them, the more they're going to do a good job. The more they feel supported and, oh, they have my back, I'm a good friend with them, they don't want to let you down. So developing those relationships with them is going to help extremely with them being oh, I didn't do this, I don't want to disappoint so-and-so. And so that's a huge thing. If you don't have a close relationship with them, or you're not helping them with certain things, if they had to do a program or something and you weren't very helpful with them, then it's well, I don't even want to do it kind of thing, or I'm not going to do it to the highest degree possible. So yeah, that's kind of all I have right here that I can think of. Do you guys have any questions about anything in particular? Anything to add?
There's going to be different hands on different things that occur, such as, Jane, you're also going to be in charge of tutoring, so you have your hand in that, so it's holding those people accountable. And if Mama Law gives any of you anything to do with leasing, now she's holding you accountable, and you may have to pass it on to an RA or you do it, but then she's holding you accountable. And Emery should be holding you guys accountable for newsletters and bulletin boards. Next year will be Carolyn, so she has her hand in that. So sometimes there's more than one hand in the pot for a certain situation. Okay, but it's making sure that they're communicating. Like we were speaking about earlier with the bulletin board, Emery should have been speaking to Erica to let Erica know it wasn't getting done, and because that didn't happen, Erica couldn't speak to Jane, or to any other residents or any other RAs who aren't doing anything. There is another aspect that sometimes there's someone else who's holding you accountable, but they need to be communicating with you guys as RDs so that communication can happen, because if it's not brought to your attention by those people that are holding you accountable, then that communication doesn't occur and that accountability doesn't happen either.
Kind of going off your other people are gonna be holding you accountable. Like, yes, obviously I never want to disappoint Anna, she's my direct supervisor and everything. But Mama Law, she's not even my supervisor, if she asks me to do something, there's no way I'm gonna like let her down. So that just goes back to be that person who they don't want to let down. Like, I couldn't, like, if Mama Law said I need 2 RCRs done, like, in this room or whatever, it's like, I'm gonna get that done because I don't want to disappoint her. And so, yeah, it just kind of goes back to that, have that relationship with your RAs or whoever you're in charge of, so that they don't want to disappoint you.